Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So, bit of rain, Friday afternoon by the way, bit of rain there over the last couple of hours. Sun is just coming out and it's going to start to dry it off again. But we've had a lot of rain over the last couple of days. Thursday morning with lots of heavy showers. It did dry up in the afternoon a little bit, but this rain again now, it's just ground conditions has gotten a little bit on the sticky side, just about, and it just makes the decision to pull these guys in all the better. So, feeding some cattle inside. What have we got in? Well, bulls. These are the ones we purchased last week, so you've seen them in the last video. So they are now down here and in on silage, all vaccinated, everything done to them. This other pen of guys in this part of the shed, these are our bulls from last year, the reared calves from last year. So I remember we reared some calves, bought them in as suck calves, were in powdered milk for a number of weeks, weaned off that onto meal and outside for all last summer. They were actually wintered outside last winter, and they were out all summer again, and they've done very, very well. Now, why are they in this pen? Well, there's a bit of a meet and greet going on here. The idea is we've small pens on this side here, and we want to mix these guys with these here, but you can't just put them straight in. If you put them straight in, there'll be a team death match against each other. There'll be killings, there'll be animals lying everywhere, there'll be injuries, and you need to put them side by side, meet and greet, to get used to each other. And what we'll do is, in a few days or next week, we'll pull open the gates and we'll let the whole lot most likely over here, and they'll all get moved into new pens and get them fed straight away. We'll do it probably at about 7:30 in the evening when it's going to get dark. Feed them straight away and just out, lights out and out of here. And they should settle down quite nicely then. So that is those two pens. The other pen then on this side, it's more or less full. It is, these are all basically our own calves that was born on the farm last year. So they're all heading for around 17-18 months old, I suppose. And yeah, all our own calves, and they're in here now. They'll probably there'll be no changes really on them. We'll just leave them all here as is, because they've been with each other basically since they were born, and they're used to each other, and be no issues with them, so they're not going to get touched. Yes, these went in what, 3 days ago, Thursday or Tuesday I think it was, and we vaccinated them, done them for worms, because they would have been due to be done for worms. We will do them for worms again in a number of weeks when we have them out clipping their backs and doing their tails and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we done them for worms. We blacklegged them. We also done them for IBR, and we done them for Histophilus. Now, what's Histophilus? Histophilus is a virus which we have gotten to know over the last couple of years. You don't ever want to know what Histophilus is, but a lot of people may even have it and don't know they have it. Histophilus showed its head here a couple of years ago, where we had an animal that dropped dead, basically. Fed them the evening time, everything looks fine. Next morning you come into the yard, you're maybe checking cattle or checking drinkers, animals stone cold dead somewhere in the shed. What it basically is, the Americans termed it showed up in America first, or they were the first that really had discovered it or knew what it was or put a name on it. They call it sleeping disease, because the animal basically catches it. Its symptoms is it shows signs that it has pneumonia, and basically sits down, puts its head out stretched, and dies. And it is really, really fast. We had a few cattle that died with it, and didn't know what happened. We had to send them to the veterinary lab, came back that they had Histophilus, and we have started vaccinating for it ever since. We've actually learned a couple of lessons with it. One in particular, the hardest lesson that we learned with it, a couple of them died. We bought it, it came in on cattle that we purchased. we bought a batch of bulls that come out of the west, and it came in on them. Now we may have had some, we've had symptoms of this before in the past, but bought a batch of bulls. We had finished a certain amount of bulls out of the shed, we had space, we purchased in some more bulls, and it came in on the bulls that we purchased in. They were in the top shed alongside, we had a pen with a few other large bulls that was ready for going to the factory. They were going to go a couple of days later. The bulls were put in alongside them. It's transferred nose-to-nose contact, so one of them that come in that had it transferred it on his nose to one of the bulls that was finished. A big bull who was worth a couple of grand, and that bull was dead the next morning. He was supposed to be going to the factory the following day, so we learned a couple of lessons with it. So yeah, it's something that if you have any of those symptoms where you have cattle that are dying quickly or unexplained, it's something that you really should be getting checked out to see if you have it, because it's a simple enough vaccination to stop it from happening. Now, we did vaccinate them. Now, all these here are all vaccinated once for it. So actually, some of these bulls here are already vaccinated already for it, but these guys have their 2 vaccinations, but these other guys, they have to get a second top-up vaccination. So you vaccinate now and you vaccinate again in a few weeks. So yeah, better work on rooting with it, but if it stops your cattle getting it, it's definitely worthwhile. But anyway, on to a lighter note. We're going to start doing a bit of feeding here. Now, the first thing we'll look at is the silage pit, because it's not really a pretty sight. Let's go look at it. So, you know the way you can finish your first silage pit, and you have a small silage pit down the bottom that you're using away at, and then the springtime comes and you start letting your cattle out, and you're left then with the whole front of a silage pit that's left open, and summer comes and you're into the early autumn and it starts to look a bit like this. Well, that's kind of where we are. So we're having to cut back. I'm getting into some of the nicer stuff now, but you can see left there for the last 5 months there's a nice crust of dirty black stuff there, but once you actually get in, it's lovely stuff. This is all second cut silage now, so it's not going to be just as nice as your first cut kind of silage, but it's nice stuff, lovely smell of it, and the cattle are going mad for it when you're putting it in. So it just means that I have a little bit of cutting to do and clear the whole edge on it. I did strip the cover back. Look, I put it back a couple of foot, just I don't want to put it back too far initially until I get the front of it all tidied up, but yeah, it's going to take a while. You could actually do more cattle in. If you're using more silage, you'll get through this a lot quicker instead of it going on for ages. But yeah, next bit I'm going to work on is I'll take the bit here out of this corner, try and straighten it down, and I'll start to work on this and trying to get a whole nice flat straight edge on it. But it's going to take a couple of weeks. It's not ideal, but it's real life and it's something we're going to have to sort out. Anyway, let's start feeding some cattle.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. see the horizon, turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Alright, so going to move away from farming just for a minute, just have a look at this machine here. This is Subaru Impreza WRX STI Type UK. It's a 2003 model, late 03, it was registered I think November 03, and I've owned this car for many years. I have this since, trying to think exactly, since the car was about 15 or 16 months old. Early 05 I purchased it, so it's around a long time. It's here about 17 years, and weapon of a machine. I was mad into the Subarus back in the day. Yeah, purchased this and always said I'd keep it and hold on to it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to sell it. Don't drive it anymore, haven't drove it much in the last 5-6 years, and it's a complete and utter waste, this car not being driven. It's just a fantastic car. There's only 50,000 miles on this one from new, so it's a really nice example. Not much rust or anything like that on it. A lot of them do rust away, but the fact that this one has been off the salty roads over the last number of years has really stood to it, and yeah, it's a really nice example. So decided that I'm going to sell it. Actually advertised it last week. Somebody come and looked at it earlier in the week. First person to come to look at it has purchased it, and they're picking it up maybe later today, but possibly tomorrow, not really sure, but I think over the weekend for sure it's going to be gone. So I just want to do a quick video of it, just a little walk around of it, and let you have a quick look at it. It's more or less original, standard out of the factory, everything on it. The only thing that's different, the wheels should be gold, but the previous owner, who only had the car just over a year, decided to paint them this, it's like a smoked silver kind of a colour, and I liked them and left them that colour. I didn't bother changing them back to the gold. It just kind of suited it, so yeah. Let's open it, I'll show you the inside of it. Yeah, so sporty enough. Bucket seats in it, Ricardo seats, Momo steering wheel, you know, everything is completely original in it, which is fairly unusual now these days. These cars, but 10 years ago they all got very cheap, and a lot of boy racers was purchasing them. They all ended up then wrapped around poles and tricked and messed about it and modified, and it just left that original ones like this very hard to come by, so they're worth a lot of money. So I advertised at a good price, I got what I was looking for, and she's gone. So it's a waste, as I say, to have a car like that sitting up and not being driven. So hopefully the new owner will get many years of driving one on it. So be sad to see it going, but it's that time that you, like, in your life, that you just have to let it go. You kind of grow out of these machines, and yeah, that's it. Alright, so feed is done. Cattle are munching away here. They're just eating away nice and quietly, nice and settled. We'll just lift out a handful of the feed there now and just get a quick look at it. Now, the dusty stuff that I put in was it's like an oat hulls. It's a byproduct of making porridge. So yeah, that's kind of, you'll see it kind of all through it there. Not much feed value in it, it's just pretty much similar to straw, but there's a wee bit of barley in there as well. Not much barley, we're only on about 1 kilo a head a day at the minute. We will raise that up now over the next week or so, and in the next day, probably from tomorrow on, I'll be adding minerals to it as well. So yeah, look, it's only in a few days, so just get everything set up and get the minerals added into the ration. So yeah, doing well so far, but it will take them a little while just to adjust to the feed and get up and moving, but that's all pretty normal. So, yeah, once they're nice and settled, it's half the battle. So I hate to see the silage pit like this, so I did a wee bit of cutting out and tidying up on it. It's not the nicest looking pit still, but at least a lot of the bad is now gone out of it. There's a couple of wee bits here that I still have to lift, and a few wee bits through it. I just have to get out with the grape and just do them manually. But over the next number of feeds, or it'll take a couple of weeks, I'll try and get that straight cutting it and get it nice and tidy, because we don't want it like this. Just an update from the last video. You've seen that this shed here was just about halfway washed out. Well, we're over halfway now, so yeah, this shed is ready now for cattle as well. We are going to be putting out finishing heifers in this shed, so yeah, good to have it washed out and ready to go. But won't be any heifers going in hopefully for another little while yet, but it's ready for when they're needed. David Brown, as usual, was on washing duty, and the power hose working well. It's new power hose we got earlier on this year, and yeah, great job. A lot of extra power on it compared to the last one, and that's what you want, especially for this job here, when you've dung and muck and stuff that's all ground in and stuck on the slats and walls. You need plenty of power to take it off. Bit harder to hold, harder on the arms and shoulders, but you put up with that when you have the power and it blowing, blasting the stuff off. So that is it for today's video, all updated on what's happening. Back into the swing of making videos, back making 2 videos this week, and I'm going to try and keep that up now over the coming weeks. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the videos coming again. As always, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, don't forget to hit the sub button. It costs you absolutely nothing. Ring the little bell and give me a like on the video if you enjoyed it, because it all helps to promote the channel and to get it moving and keep it going. So if you can do that, I'm very grateful. So thank you for that. Yeah, so that's it. Until the midweek video, have a good weekend, and we'll see you then.